Welcome to the Global Current, your window to the world. On today's show, we'll be discussing President of Zimbabwe's birthday and also flood and food crisis in Burundi. But first, headlines.
Good morning, this is Mason Robbins
and Gina Chiraboga
with your morning headline news. Top Iraqi military commander announces new security plan. The plan includes shutting down border crossings to Iran and Syria for 3 days to stem insurgent flows and regain stability within the country. After the 3-day period, Lieutenant General Gambi said the crossing will only be partially reopened and remain restrictive indefinitely. The plan will increase the curfew to last from 8 p.m. to 6 a.m. within the capital. The country will be divided into 10 security districts for easier enforcement control. U.S. and Iraqi officials report that Shia cleric al-Sadr has fled to Iran to escape these strict policies. Statements from those close to Sadr deny these reports. The new strategies come at the same time that President Bush is reaffirming his resolve to place over 20,000 additional troops in Iraq in an effort to establish lasting security. U.S. officials are intensifying their claims that Iran is supplying Iraqi militia with weapons and other aid. Iran officials deny these claims.
Whenever you're ready.
Japan pushes whaling rights. The International Whaling Committee held its annual conference in Tokyo this past week. All countries on the committee were invited, but only half were in attendance. Japan's aim was to have the conference focus on management and regulation rather than banning and illegalization. 26 anti-whaling countries, including the U.S., Great Britain, and Australia, did not attend. At the conference, pro-whaling countries led by Japan, Norway, and Iceland accused anti-whaling countries of imperialism in an attempt to enforce their policies. Meanwhile, a Japanese whaling ship caught on fire Wednesday morning off the coast of Antarctica. 120 crew members were evacuated to another ship. 30 stayed behind to fight the fire, and 1 sailor is unaccounted for. Authorities are unsure if he was lost in the fire or fell overboard during the chaos. The cause of the fire is currently being investigated. Japanese government officially announced that there is no potential danger of a fuel or oil leak at this time.
Go ahead whenever you're ready.
The Chinese foreign minister arrived in Japan on Thursday for a 3-day stay. The two nations intend on improving relations before their upcoming visit in April. The two visits are an attempt by China to address the growing tension between the two countries and improve relations. The Japanese Prime Minister has said he will address the strained relationship as a major goal during his tenure. He has not yet said whether or not he will uphold the tradition of visiting the Yasukuni War Shrine. The shrine is the resting place of Japanese soldiers, including tried and convicted war criminals. Former Japanese Prime Minister's annual visits to the shrine have been a point of serious contention between the two countries. Other disputes between the two nations include textbooks which dilute Japan's human rights abuses in China during World War II, gas exploration rights in the East China Sea, and a chain of islands claimed by both countries in the same area are also contested. Both prime ministers have shown resolve in improving relations since September.
Russia, China, and India hold regional talks. The foreign ministers of the three nations met in New Delhi to discuss various issues. On the agenda, terrorism, drug trafficking, Iran, Afghanistan, and economic cooperation. The meeting is the second of its kind since former Russian Prime Minister Primakov suggested it in 1998 during a visit to India. Subjects of discussion give priority to international security and economic cooperation. High on the agenda was the discussion about the importance of the United Nations and how to best enact reforms. The three ministers agreed that denouncing and opposing terrorism in all of its forms is vital to regional security. They agreed to promote business investment, energy security, open trade, and looser restricted travel between the three nations. The meeting's air of cooperation and friendship comes in spite of recent tensions between India and China. Starbucks to buy more African coffee. Starbucks recently announced that it will double its purchases of coffee from East African countries by 2009. The decision was made this week at the Conference of Eastern African Fine Coffees Association in the Ethiopian capital. The plan will increase Starbucks' purchases of East African coffees to 600 million pounds of coffee per year. Starbucks has indicated that it's willing to spend significantly to help East African development. The company will provide $1 million in microfinance loans as well as to set up farmer support centers and improve farmer practices and bean quality.
Scott Blakeman and Dean Obeidallah teamed up 5 years ago to form their act as part of the organization Seeds for Peace. The organization's aim is to encourage relationships and dialogue between Israeli and Arab teens. Their act mixes political, social, and cultural humor while subtly addressing underlying causes of conflict between the two groups. We always say before the show starts it's a success because it brings together people from different backgrounds, says Blakeman. The two men tour college campuses and relish being able to speak with students. According to them, college students are by nature much more open-minded and solution-oriented than other age groups. The comics end the show with a question-and-answer session among the audience. While everyone doesn't agree, Blakeman and Obeidallah don't get discouraged. One of the things we're proud of we can do is to always bring people together, says Blakeman.
Cellular phones in Africa. Mobile phone companies have announced a new initiative called Phones for Africa that will aid health workers in Africa. The $10 million program will help doctors in Rwanda to have the ability to exchange software and information about patients. The workers will be able to order medicine, receive news alerts, download treatment and guidelines and trading materials via the new technologies. The plan is aimed at the battle against tuberculosis, dysentery, malaria, HIV, and AIDS. These steps will be aimed to help Africa in its struggle against poverty and disease.
Bulgarian announces plans to reopen nuclear plants. Bulgaria recently announced plans to review options for the reopening of a group of Soviet power plants. 2 nuclear power plants are to be revived without reviewing the ecological and economic consequences this could have. Bulgaria, a recent EU member, must keep its EU commitments. Bulgaria has responded to the EU criticism, demanding compensation if the plants are not opened.
Cyprus to explore seabed. The Republic of Cyprus announced that it will now pursue offshore hydrocarbon exploration. The nation only recently acquired the appropriate development license. The official kickoff of the ceremony in Nicosia was attended by various investors, experts, international companies, diplomats, and Egypt's oil minister. Cyprus has signed deals with both Egypt and Lebanon, granting them exclusive use of the economic zone for exploration. Turkey has issued a warning over the issue. Cyprus and Egypt clarified that agreements would still be honored. The Egyptian Minister of Petroleum described the event as a historic milestone in achieving future economic stability for current and future generation of Cypriots.
U.S. border agent charged with smuggling illegal immigrants. 44-year-old Michael Gilliland was sentenced on Thursday to 5 years in federal prison and fined $200,000 for smuggling illegal immigrants. He worked as a U.S. border agent for 16 years on the Ode Meta crossing. Last year, Gilliland pleaded guilty on charges of bribery and smuggling. For the past 2 years, he cooperated with leaders of several smuggling rings. Gilliland allowed these smugglers to operate in return for $1,500 for each person that crossed the Mexico-U.S. border. He earned a total of $120,000 during this time. He pleaded guilty at his trial in a San Diego district court.
Carnival under the barrel of a gun. In Brazil, gang violence has increased since last December. A total of 15 people were killed in gang clashes in the slums in the past week. A national security force was sent to Rio de Janeiro to combat drug trafficking and vigilante groups. Violence occurred during the initial stages of Carnival, which started Friday. About 700,000 tourists will visit the city in the next few days. 1,000 police officers and 750 city guards will be patrolling the Samba Dome area where the globalized television performance of top samba schools is held. Tourism agency Rio Tour says another 1,200 private security guards will watch over the parade.
On Thursday, Fidel Castro's son announced that his father is recovering. On July 31st, Castro underwent emergency stomach surgery that forced him to step down from power. His brother Raul Castro was left to rule the country in his place. Cuba's longtime leader has not appeared to the public since his operation. Castro's illness is a closely guarded state secret, but it's rumored that he suffered from diverticulitis, or bulges in the large intestine. His health problems were officially labeled as stress-related. It is uncertain if Fidel Castro, now 80, will take the presidential office once again. As he recovers, he is still consulted on important matters and speaks with aides on a daily basis. His brother Raul states that for the time being, Fidel does not intervene, but is kept up to speed on the state's matter.
Anti-terrorism laws to expire in Canada. 2 anti-terrorism laws introduced by Canada in efforts to protect the country against 9/11 attacks are set to expire early next week. These laws, similar to the ones implemented by the United States, allow police to hold suspected terrorists up to 72 hours without charges. The heavily criticized bills are under review before they expire. Current Prime Minister Stephen Harper for the Conservative Party is pushing for the extension of these laws. He claims that letting them expire will leave Canada vulnerable to terrorist attacks. The laws are opposed by the other two prominent parties. Liberals say that there are no longer a need for such excessive laws. Unless these measures gain support from one of the two opposition parties, they will expire next week.